In this video I'm gonna teach you how to take these photos. So the other day I went out to Nackareservatet, which is a big green nature reserve in Stockholm. And I had no idea of what I was going to photograph, I just felt like taking a long walk in nature, so that is what I did. Insect season is kind of over, so you have to get creative if you want to do macro photography. I discovered that there was a lot of raindrops left on leaves from the rainfall that had been during the night, and I tried experimenting with taking photos of these water drops. I quickly discovered that using a flash did not give the most beautiful light, so instead I started experimenting with holding the water drops up to the sun, so that the sun comes in from behind, shining through the water drop and letting the light refract into the camera lens. And I know from experience that this often makes for beautiful photos, so I started experimenting with this. I picked up leaves with drops on them, and I tried to find leaves where there is like one more dominant drop so that could be like a main subject. And if you hold the leaf at the right angle towards the sun, you can get this very nice specular autofocus highlights in the background, like this interesting looking bokeh. I tried to put the focus so that the edge of the main water drop is sharp, and then I used an ISO of 400 and I used an aperture of around f5.6 or f8, and since I'm holding the leaf up towards the sun I get plenty of light, and sometimes you can even set the ISO to like 200 or 100, but of course it depends on how strong the sunlight is. This is my favorite photo from this walk. I love the colors and I love the bokeh, I love the very big drop that is very sharp. I'm also very pleased with this photo. This is probably my second best from today. Leaves with the sun shining through them is also a nice subject on autumn days like this one. I picked this particular day for my photo walk because it had been raining during the night, so I know that then you can usually find water drops in some places and that can make for interesting macro subjects. And also it was a very nice sunny day where you just can enjoy walking around in nature. Like even if you don't find any nice photos to take, it's still a really enjoyable walk. I was using my Fujifilm X-T3 and the Laowa 65mm lens. It was very early into my photo walk that I found this concept with holding leaves up to the sun and photographing water drops. And the place I was standing had so many of these leaves with water drops on them, so I could have stayed there for like an hour or 2 hours and just take lots and lots of beautiful photos. But instead I decided to just take a couple of photos and then move on with my walk, because to me it is just as important to just enjoy my day and have a nice walk as it is to take the most beautiful photos. And that is something I've really decided for myself, that photography for me should always be something I enjoy doing. I should never pressure myself to do photography that I don't enjoy. I will never go out to take photos when I'm not feeling like it. I want this to be something that I continue to enjoy for many years, and despite this being my primary source of income now, these YouTube videos, I really try to not compromise on that principle. Photography should be fun and enjoyable. And of course, some days it is hard to enjoy it, some days you feel like you don't have any inspiration, and then just don't do it on these days. Do something else instead and go out on a day when you feel inspired. I think one secret to becoming a really good photographer is to not become too attached to your photos at an early stage. I think many photographers, me included, when they are beginners, they tend to invest a lot of time in some photos, and then even though they might recognize that they don't turn out that good, they spend so much time and effort creating the photos so that you kind of feel like it has to be good, and you keep it and you publish it and you kind of try to make it work even though it wasn't a good photo in the first place. You should try to detach yourself from your photos, and then when you go through them and edit them, pick the ones that really are the nicest, and that might often be photos that you spent like 5 seconds taking, and then you could have spent hours taking some other photos and they didn't turn out that great. Then you have to be big-minded enough to recognize that and just let the ones that aren't good go and just delete them and move on with your life. A good way, a good principle of becoming less attached to your photos is to let them rest for a few days after you have taken them. In film photography, this is kind of automatic. You always have to wait a bit until you have developed your film or until you get it back. And then you have kind of already detached yourself a bit from the process of creating the photos. So then you can be more objective when you go through them and pick the ones that are the best. Me though, I really don't have enough patience for that. I always go through my photos like within a couple of hours after taking them, so sometimes I have this problem that I become too attached to them at an early stage, but this is something I try to be mindful of. What are your best tips for macro photography in the autumn? Do you have any things that you go after when the insects are gone? Do you have any tips besides water drops and leaves? Please give a comment below and we can share tips with each other. Please don't forget that I have an inspiration newsletter that goes out once a month. Go sign up over at mdalrule.com. And please do subscribe to this channel. I post new videos every week. And also, check out my Instagram. That's it for this video, over and out.